Um, Hello, Ents. We're back for another show,
Hello, buddies.
buds.
Earbuds.
Okay, 119. Oh, we got 10. Are you here? Take this one. I'll take this one.
Oh, there is another one?
Yeah, I have this one right here. Okay. It's that time. Happy 420.
Yeah, I need a lighter.
My alarm went off. Oh, where are all the lighters? I just realized.
Oh no! It's 420.
Okay, 420. Time for the air horn.
Let me grab my lighter.
Hmm.
Oh, I got this one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, just in time.
Oh, first night of the day.
Oh, perfect.
Also, as we go along, I'll be snacking on some edibles.
Oh, nice. How many milligrams are those?
The whole pack's 250 milligrams, and I think there's probably 10 of them, so 25? Oh, okay.
Our makeshift studios falling apart.
25 milligram gummy worms.
Oh, those are 25 each?
Well, if it's 250 per pack and there's 10 gummy worms, these are the ones that you got.
Kind of, they're good.
I mean,
Okay.
you want them?
I'm gonna smoke for now.
¿Por qué no lo dos?
I know. How many did you take?
Just one. I'm going to go throughout the show and people can tell me if I got too high or not.
Well, like, you were making sense for the first hour and a half.
Then you went on these rants.
And it got kind of crazy. Anyways, how are you doing? It's April now.
It's Tuesday. I know, April. We made it 420 for a whole month.
I know. This should be a celebratory month. But
We celebrate enjoying our families, enjoying some downtime, learning how to rest.
yeah, everyone who's not like a nurse or a doctor.
Oh, geesh. I hope they're. Yeah. I saw a video the other day of a nurse who walked out of her ICU unit because they were bringing in COVID patients and they didn't have any personal protective equipment, PPE. They wouldn't. She had a N95 mask, I think. I don't know, but that was it. And
Oh man.
if you were a nurse or a doctor and you had to expose yourself to that and then go home to all your people's.
oh man, that's well,
A risk they take.
no, I mean we cover it. There's a video on Dr. Fauci talking about it. He's the doctor on the coronavirus response team from the White House. And so I was going to actually bring it up later, but let's just watch it now. Cuz it's pretty incredible how he describes it. Cuz he's actually a doctor and he's also served in the previous epidemic, which was the AIDS and HIV epidemic.
Well, he was there when we had to deal with SARS and
Well, all that too.
all of them.
But-
And he's an infectious disease. Yeah, like not only infectious disease doctor, and not only does he suit up when he needs to, like, but he's part of he's been in our government for how long? How long has he had that
Well-
position? For like a minute.
Yeah, but when he first became a doctor, he was serving in LA or in New York. Well, let's watch the video. He describes it.
Is there anything you want people to do to show their support, especially we have two doctors up there, to show their support for the medical community?
I'm glad you brought up that question because I don't think people can really fully appreciate the extraordinary effort of these people. I mean, it's amazing. I did all of my medical training in New York City in a big, busy New York City hospital at a time when it was just what you normally see in a hospital. I came to NIH, and I spent about
NIH.
5 to 8 years in the very early years of the AIDS epidemic, which was just the darkest years of my life because almost every single one of my patients died. And
Yeah, so I think he talks about how when he first got to New York, he spent the first 5 years just during the AIDS epidemic, and it was just
Because they were trying to figure out what that was and how it was killing people and how it was spreading, all that stuff.
yeah,
It was
and everyone was dying. All of his patients were dying, and well, now
sad.
he compares it to what's going on now, and listen to like the distinction between what we're going through now and what was happening then.
as we knew epidemiologically, that there was very little risk. There was a small risk, but very little risk of getting infected from a patient. To see now what these brave warriors are doing in the hospitals, not only giving life-saving treatment to people, but every single day putting themselves at risk for themselves and their family, I just think that the American public owe a phenomenal debt of
HIV is
gratitude
way
for
harder
these
to
people.
get than this virus. This
Right.
is a respiratory, airborne, like
Yeah, so a doctor treating HIV and AIDS victims during that epidemic, they knew the transmission was unlike or was like
it
little
wasn't
to none.
Spit. Yeah,
Right, and
you'd
so,
have
like-
to have close blood to blood.
And like Princess Diana could like hug AIDS patients and like, you can
I know she did so much for getting rid of that stigma. She
But-
actually touched, and but still, that's different from now. They were asking all the nurses and doctors who had nothing to do with the
yeah.
maybe the craziness of all this, and we're still expecting them to just go to work.
Because
Go to
that's like
That's what they signed up for?
I
Even though I couldn't become a doctor,
It's
I was
almost-
I'm gonna have to let go of my Hippocratic oath shit.
it's not like that's what they signed up for. It's more like this is just the best we can do right now. They're the front lines when it comes to these kinds of catastrophes. Anyway, so let's finish the clip because I think there's more.
And they should just salute them in every way you can. When we were at war and at the height of the war in Afghanistan and Iraq, when you're at an airport and you'd see somebody with a uniform come by, everybody would do that. I think that's what we should do when we see healthcare workers, just applaud them. Now, with
They don't
regard to what
want
do we
that.
tell the American people, what we've been telling them all along.
They want better
That
healthcare.
the only tool, but the best tool we have is mitigation. We know it worked in other countries, and we're seeing how it's working here. So if we really want to make sure that we don't have these kinds of rebounds that we're worried about, it's mitigation, mitigation, mitigation. That's the answer.
He says, like the Gulf War, like when you see like doctors and nurses walking, you should clap for them. But it seems like his advice of mitigation, I feel like the best thing we can do for our healthcare workers is just stay home.
Yeah, that's what they are. They're like, can you guys stay home? Make sure there's no more patients getting this so that we're not overloaded. At the same time, I've heard lots of them we're not heroes. We're just but after this, can we make sure we fix it? So this is ridiculous that we had to come this far and have a disaster be so much worse. And obviously now it's too late. What can we do in the past? But that's fine. But after we fix it, we can't forget it.
Fix what though?
Mitigate or not fix it, but get over this acute, this really bad right now.
I mean,
But I
what
think
do
there's
you?
a lot of people who are like, this is not war. This is a failure. This is a healthcare crisis.
Well, it's like they're trying to treat a national healthcare crisis with the mobilization of the army. Because they're saying we don't have enough ventilators, but not everyone needs ventilators, and so we can move
Yeah,
the
we need to
ventilators
prevent-
around to states and areas in need.
Share
But
the
yeah,
resources.
it's such a common analogy that they use. the president likes to call himself a wartime president.
The U.S. likes to use.
I guess
We're at war.
We love war.
We're at war, so keep spending those trillions.
Anyway, so that was Dr. Fauci, and actually the thing that got me to I was on that clip for a while, but the reason why I decided to show it was because I saw this headline. Coronavirus
PTSD treatment. They're probably, if they've never experienced where like a war zone where there are high casualties, this is going to be traumatic for some, especially if they didn't sign up for to see and lose that many patients.
Yeah, if you're not in like acute care, like ICU or,
like you're
or
not
emergency
used
room.
to just losing so many people in your care.
Mm-hmm. So the headline says, coronavirus doctors and nurses will need PTSD treatment after COVID-19 virus peaks in hospitals.
Yeah, look how we treat our vets and their PTSD treatment.
Yeah.
Good job, guys. Good job.
The expert in intensive
You can
care
come to my house and I'll smoke you out.
The experts in intensive care medicine say staff are already facing unprecedented toll on mental and physical health. And so, unfortunately, I have some comments from that article, or comments from other healthcare workers.
And guess who has access to all the drugs that they can get hooked on to deal with this if they don't get the proper therapy?
China? I'm just kidding.
Pharma.
I know, but don't all of our drugs come from China?
How many medical personnel are on stuff?
So from that article, it says doctors and nurses will need treatment for post-traumatic stress disorder after working in harrowing conditions on wards during the coronavirus crisis, health leaders warn. The strain on their mental and physical health is already unprecedented, and the virus has not yet reached its expected peak, they say.
Yeah, we don't want to get there that fast. We were trying to slow it down so that...
I think they're saying they're already overloaded, and it's not even as bad as it's going to get.
They might be overloaded now, but now it might be also where we're seeing the effects of everyone having stayed at home. Not that everyone did.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Because it takes like 2 weeks.
Yeah, we're catching up to that. And so I think now it's not going to hopefully go higher, but actually now level out because they did do the stay-at-home orders. At least here. I don't know about other states,
Mm-hmm.
Sadly.
So here's a comment. This guy says, my wife's been traumatized. She's a nurse in a geriatric rehab living facility where COVID-19 has killed 6.
Nursing homes. Oh my God, what are we doing?
Yeah. Where COVID-19 has killed 6 of her residents in long-term care so far. Her test results just came back positive for it. This after pulling 2 16-hour shifts after some of the other nurses who refused to report. She now has symptoms and had a panic attack today because of it. She's never had one before and required medical intervention because it made her feel like she was dying in that moment. She is better now, but holy shit, this is terrible and terrifying.
Yeah, a lot of people, I feel bad. I'm like, oh, you're just having you're just having a panic attack, but like.
And if that's your first time having
yeah, your heart's racing, you're having you really think you're going to die.
Yeah.
If you've never had one before.
And she's
it's just
not
frightening and you're like, and then the anxiety doesn't help because now she's probably thinking I have to take 2 weeks away from all the people I'm caring for just to keep them safe. But then all the other nurses that she was already covering for, like, how are they going to get more people to cover,
Yeah.
So she knows she's going to come back to even more residents gone.
And this isn't even a hospital. This is a geriatric rehab living facility. And so imagine how stressed out they must be if she, after pulling 2 16-hour shifts, and there are other nurses who refuse to report. And it's
report meaning they're not going in. They might have felt symptoms. They might feel like,
oh, I see.
I'm like, for me, I have an autoimmune disorder. I can't do 16-hour shifts.
Sorry, I misread that as they refuse to report their symptoms.
Oh, I don't know. I think it might be refused to report like the other nurse. Yeah, I'm not going into the ICU. I come back to like ailing parents. If I don't have the protective gear and you have positive COVID patients, no, I'm not coming in. So then the other nurses are filling in for her She has every right to do that. But I'm like, that just, it's a domino chain. You
So
know?
yeah, so she's pulling. Oh, okay. So I get it
More
now. She's
shifts.
right because the other nurses are
Either got sick or whatever, or maybe they're just refusing to come in, which is,
yeah.
they got that right.
Yeah, countries everywhere are expediting their medical students so they can get out in the field and help. Even like dental
You know what's
dental
funny?
students.
In Cuba, the minute you go into medical school, everyone calls you doctor. And the first class I had was a practical where you had to go to all the polyclinics. They would give us syringes, be like, "Oh, he needs this, whatever," and be like, "Right here, you learned it, try it." And we're like, "What?" All the stuff we're not allowed to do in the you practice while you're there. And even the patients know we're students. They still call us. They call me Doctora Cha. And I was like, "What? I haven't even I just got to med school, and
don't
you're
even
calling
have
me
a white
Doctora,"
coat.
and they're willing to let me do their blood pressure, do all that stuff. They're like, "How else are you going to learn if you don't practice?" And that's how they, And it was so crazy for me that they would do that. I'm like, there's no way they're going to do that in the U.S. Are they? If we're already low on medical personnel in the U.S.
It's yeah. I mean, how hard is it to get your license? It's like, is the people that give out the
Very.
licenses like they have too much control over it, and so
Oh yeah, remember my school had to be, accredited. I went to the one in Havana and it was fully accredited, whatever. So I could come back, take the step 1. There's 3 steps. And
Right.
then you have to take all those, plus go to an accredited school, plus graduate, and then you have to get your certification.
so
There's
you can't practice
so many-
anything until you become a doctor. Whereas in Cuba, they just start immediately. Like once you're interested in becoming a doctor, they're like,
No,
"Let's
once
see if
you have been accepted, it's rigorous until Remember what I told you about?
But
the
then it's
Cuban-
rigorous to be
Cuban
accepted in
doctors?
the United States medical schools
I know.
too.
So they feel like at that point, you're here, you're committed,
Yeah,
this is your path. So here it's like, we
prove
don't know if
this.
you're gonna make it. We don't know if you're gonna. We only take the cream of the whatever, and it's like, oh, the people who can take tests the best.
Yeah. So are we limiting how many doctors we can have because the board that gives out the licenses to become a doctor is so strict?
No, it's not. It's just a lot of hurdles along the way.
Mm-hmm.
Other countries, if you're going to be a doctor, it's right after high school, and you do your.
That's here too. You have to do pre-med.
But there's no other application process. How many pre-med students go into pre-med and then make it to medical school?
Yeah, there are a
Really
few
low.
There are a few 8-year programs.
Few.
that,
I
yeah.
think they do take after, but I'm just saying that's very rare in the U.S. Whereas every
then
other
we're-
country, it's like, if that's your career path, we're gonna train you from day one, all your university stuff from
So do they only go to 4 years of medical school?
No, it's
It's still 8 years, right?
still yeah.
Yeah,
But from the
it's-
beginning, all your there's no
Well, it's from here too. I'm sure.
no. If you I went with a
No, but
a
if
lot
you
of people
wanna
have
be-
different degrees. They're not in pre-med.
Yeah, that's the nice thing about. I'm sure if you didn't get a pre-med degree, you would still have to take up the general classes or whatever to go into medical school.
Yes, you need like OChem, biochem, all that stuff. I had to cram all that in 6 months and learn Spanish to start it. But I was like, sure,
Well, let's see.
try it.
Let's see how the other people in the hospitals are doing. 2, 3. Okay.
That's a lot.
This one's there's 2 responses in here. So ICU RN, and I've seen a lot of horrific things in my years of ICU and trauma nursing. I will definitely need counseling after this. And then there's a response to that quote or that comment.
Emergency doctor.
Yeah, ED here, emergency doctor. Yes, we will. I worry that the debriefings we use to do it won't cut it. They would happen so infrequently. And are they planning to do them every day? I can only intubate so many normally healthy people and see them dead the next day before it gets to us. Yeah. And then the ICU RN responds, we don't even have debriefings. They just roll up another one from ED that's been tubed, and we watch them do the same thing. I've never felt so helpless as an ICU RN. I pride myself in how good I am at rapidly assessing and stabilizing patients, advocating for what they need to the docs, getting them better. These patients, I just feel at the mercy of a disease. Once it's selected you, there's nothing you can do to keep these people off the vent. I've tried everything. And so these are the nurses and doctors in the ICU and the emergency room, and they're
Who got through, most of them, the rigorous education here because they you know, a lot of them were pushed with passion to like help people. They want to care for people. They want to help them to get out of the hospital and survive for the most part. I mean, that's
you know what this kind of reminds me of?
like now they're gonna just, I don't know. That's
You know, when 9/11 happened, they had to bring a bunch of dogs to help find people, and the dogs were getting depressed because every person they found was dead. And so the first responders had to, I guess, like hide under the rubble,
fake at least a couple
right, so the
live
dogs
finds.
could like feel, I guess, the joy of doing a good job. And that's what I mean from reading these comments. It's like that's what our healthcare professionals want to do. They want to see people get better, and they that's what this nurse says. She says, I pride myself in how good I am at rapidly assessing and stabilizing patients.
Which is probably why she ended up staying and sticking in the ICU.
Right.
Like, there's so many different departments, and they all like go towards one, and it's like, wow, these people wanted to go there because they were good at it, and now it's like fail, 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 like
Well, yeah, and
over
it's
and
like-
over again.
Then she says, yeah, these patients, I just feel at the mercy of the disease. Once it's selected you, there's nothing you can do to keep these people off the vent. And it's
Even Fauci said he was Fauci. I can't say his name, but
Fauci.
he got depressed after the AIDS. How many people, you know, because
Yeah, so this is just like that, but more contagious.
and faster,
Yeah.
and just like a wave.
Like, I don't think our hospitals were ever overloaded with AIDS patients. Do you know what I mean? Like, there were a lot
it was
of
alarming
AIDS
to
patients,
us, just
right?
like it was
Because there was no
alarming because
cure.
It was like, what are they dying from? What are they? It's a secondary thing. This isn't. Their immune system's not working. Something's attacking them, and then they find it. I think that's what happened. How the whistleblowers came out in China. Some of the doctors were like, "Wait, this is not normal," and then they tried to alert whoever, which I think they did alert them. Finally, even that government had to listen. Everyone and pay attention, because like this many people shouldn't be dying of pneumonia, and many people shouldn't be intubated. And usually, when you get them on a ventilator, they should survive. But who knows what?
So yeah, when we do stuff like stay at home, I don't know. I guess if you don't know anyone that works in like the health industry, it could seem like, I don't know, the government is treading on your rights. I think that's why Donald Trump,
Or why the
he's
Midwestern people aren't listening?
Well, no, but there are a lot of states that don't have stay-at-home orders that are doing a good job too. And like their governors, like they're just communicating to people, like, you know, you have to keep a safe distance, and you know, there's some states that are doing a terrible job and not doing anything. But it's that like freedom of like going out that for some reason Donald Trump doesn't want to infringe on. But the reason why we have like why schools are canceled is because
Just grouping like that. We just have to understand the like he said, the epidemiology, or the way this virus works and moves. You know, we are the hosts, so that's what like and.
But if that isn't like a good enough reason for you to stay at home, you should at least think about like the healthcare workers that are impacted.
Think of how we have so individualized or valued our individualism, not understanding that this affects us when we were in big crowds or when we like.
Right, it's already affected us. You can't go to the hospital.
I know,
Imagine if you had to go to the
but
hospital
I think
right
that,
now.
I think that's the disconnect.
Right, because people don't. Yeah, no,
You know
exactly.
what I mean?
That's what I'm saying.
That's
If-
the like you're like.
That's exactly what I'm saying. If you don't have the healthcare industry in your mind while this is all going on, then
But the healthcare industry itself has been so skewed that it is not a social thing. It is not a collective thing. It is, you know, it's not a right.
Right.
Not here.
Not
Universally.
unless you're a senior. You get Medicaid.
Well, yeah. Well, look at our government.
You get
Of course they're gonna cover
You get
that
rights
one.
before you're born and after you turn 66 or something. Okay, there might have been two more.
Oh, that was my missing thing. What we were talking about? That's what I'm not getting. It just clicked. How old are all those people that were talking about healthcare? And I'm like, why isn't it not Medicare for all?
Uh-huh.
They're all of that age.
Who?
Hillary, Bernie.
Oh, we didn't get to that
Trump.
story yet.
Oh, okay.
But we will. I mean, we can get to it.
I'm sorry. I was missing when we went over that clip. I'm like, something's missing. This disconnect. Also,
I think public workers also get different health care. I think if you're like in Congress.
Oh yeah, that's why I was going to take that state job.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying they're covered. That's why it doesn't worry them so much. Maybe
That's a lot of people's issue with politics is that they feel like the politicians are just disconnected from them.
But we're all connected when it comes to this virus. So shouldn't our healthcare cover all of us?
Yeah, it's like Independence Day. But it's
What's
like
that?
Independence Day is that movie with Will Smith and Jeff Goldblum where like the
Jeff
aliens
Goldblum. I have to watch it now.
where the aliens came and like they were invading Earth and like all of Earth had to like work together to defeat one common enemy. That's what COVID-19 is. It's just tiny aliens. Okay, let me finish these two more.
I know. People are like, we're tired of COVID. We're already staying home if we're watching you.
I know, but this isn't about COVID. These are the people
okay.
who have to work with it. So
And
ICU
then
doc
what's going to
here.
happen after?
Yeah, so this is from an ICU doc here. Continuing on
Maybe people don't know what ICU is. Does everyone know what
intensive care unit.
Uh-huh.
I think that's the unit that Boris Johnson got admitted into.
It's where if you need to get invasive ventilators, which is the intubation, you're usually in the ICU.
Right. So this is a doctor commenting on the post where we said healthcare professionals will have PTSD and will need
Post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yeah, they're going to need a lot of therapy. So, ICU doc here. I already hired a psychologist to talk to just for the anxiety about it and the frustration at being asked to do so much more than we signed up for. The fear of catching it and dying, etc. It's going to be PTSD and probably a lot of OCD that everyone will need help with.
OCD?
I think because
the
they're
obsessive cleaning
right.
and the like freaking out about like making sure
it's on like the survival portion of the brain
Everything
and
is-
mixed with like high stress.
sanitary, not just sanitary, what's it called? When you kill everything. Sterile. Like it's funny because sterile life means no life,
Yeah.
which means we're done too.
Sterile up to a certain size. Okay, and then this is the last one. This one says, I'm an ICU nurse and I have dreams where I'm suffocating and I'm telling myself that I have that I have COVID. Or we are intubating a patient and I keep noticing where and when we accidentally break precautions. It's very similar to weeded dreams from restaurant servers where everything is going wrong and you can't move. And a response to that was, oh my gosh, I'm an x-ray tech and I have been having these dreams too. The other day I dozed off on the couch and woke up with a scared start and checked my own pulse because I thought I wasn't breathing. So yeah, from the nurses to the x-ray techs. I
It's
guess
like when you dream about like because school is really stressful and you start dreaming that you show up.
Yeah,
again
these
or
are-
whatever. It's like your mind is so preoccupied and scared, like on a high alert stress level that even when you're sleeping, it's freaking out.
yeah, and it's like
That's sad.
it's raised the stress level of an entire
Nation.
industry, the healthcare industry. It doesn't matter if you're an x-ray tech or an ICU nurse
Which
or a
doesn't
doctor.
help with your immune system.
Right, so it doesn't matter
Which
what
you shouldn't be in.
literally if you work in a rehab facility or a geriatric facility or a hospital.
Anytime there's a bunch of people who you're gonna have to keep like visiting and right.
Yeah.
And anyone who's got like the what's it called,
predisposed.
If you
ailment.
already have something like diabetes, or if you're overweight, hypertension. Did you see the statistics on the percentage of deaths coming out being, African American or brown? And it's like really high because they also have higher prevalence of heart issues.
But aren't they just in like
hypertension,
poor
all of that.
areas?
Yeah,
as well?
they're everything's stacked against them. I'm like, so the percentage of them coming out of the hospital once they go in is like really low. Which doesn't have, I guess, I don't know. I've heard people are scared to go to the hospital.
Yeah, I mean,
So they
right
just die
now,
in their homes.
right now for COVID-19 or in general, because
Yeah, COVID.
so
Well,
I mean,
in general too, but obviously now it's exacerbated. Like,
why would? I mean, yeah, I'm sure everyone's afraid to go to the hospital because it's like, what are your chances of coming back?
Oh yeah, if you get like.
I mean, especially if you get.
Now we're watching Boris.
I know.
I hope he gets out soon.
I mean,
I
we
might
all
not
do.
agree with any of his politics and have made fun of him, but you don't ever like he's got to come out and celebrate life.
That's
after.
interesting because I think most people have that kind of viewpoint. I would hope so, even if they don't necessarily
Then
agree.
they should let all the prisoners out.
Well, no,
Fine,
that's
maybe not all of them, but
that's the thing. That's like
majority of them don't
but
deserve a death sentence.
So the people who have empathy and the people who have control over actually executing things are two different. Like, there's two different categories of people. Do you know what I mean? Like, people can
I don't
be
think those are
empathetic.
mutually.
No, they're not. But people can be empathetic towards Boris Johnson, but not have any
Empathy
capacity
towards-
to be able to let any prisoners out. But
Oh.
the people in charge who have the capacity to let prisoners out,
It
they
depends
might
on who
have,
you can relate to, I guess.
No, right? Yeah, they might have
Or-
empathy towards Boris Johnson, but they're still not going to let prisoners out. They don't care. The prisoners make them money.
Or they feel that prisoners are there for a reason or what, like they deserve their lot in life somehow. Which you have to then ask. You think they deserve a possible life, like not a life sentence, a death sentence?
Well, sure, but what does that also say about like your guards and like the people that you hire?
Yeah, I know.
To...
You're all the people that have to work there too. It's not just, it's anyone who's in that system.
Yeah. So it seems like, yeah, that's disappointing because the coronavirus and seeing how people are treating the prisoners, it's almost like it's obvious. The American penal system isn't meant to rehabilitate criminals. It's meant to
no
keep them in.
I know. Department of Corrections is like, wait, just drop the C.
Yeah. So they, yeah, it's sad.
Yeah, I'm like, that's why I can't watch that movie. What was it, 13th Amendment?
Oh, 13 Reasons Why? Or is that?
13, no. Anyways, I'm like, there's so much stuff that that makes me so mad about certain things in this country, which it's like, I thought we got over those kinds of things, but it's just like, man, like it's still here. In like every system.
Yeah. I know, yeah. It's like, it doesn't...
It's got its grips because who built those systems? Who those industry systems, procedures and all that stuff, even though they tried to pivot away, like there's still biases in them because they were built and put together by a different generation.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're still trying to abide by them and it doesn't work for our time and place. And we don't even want those kinds of things, but we're having such a hard time pivoting until something like this happens. But then even now, after this whole pandemic, will it help bring a correction to our healthcare
See, that's the thing. It's like...
or prison care? Like, can something be reformed a bit from this? Like, can we learn a lesson? Or
that's why we have the show. We're just watching to see if anything changes. And so far...
Well, so far it's kind of hard. Like, nothing can go back until we kind of like defeat the.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
like
It's like
the-
once we defeat the thing, what's going to be left of America? And then that's really going to be the time where you can actually rebuild because you have to.
Well, see, I think the thing is now this one, which is both sad, but like it's like, okay, maybe it will bring changes because even after it's done, I don't think there's going to be, everyone's like, oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. I'm like, I don't think there's going to be celebrations.
No.
You know, how? Like,
Yeah.
when we were trying to figure out how we're going to, pick up the pieces. How do you celebrate just because you get to pick up the pieces? I think Americans haven't
It's like-
faced that, except in 9/11. Like,
You know when-
maybe that was the closest, but even that was very localized.
You know what this just reminded me of? You know, at the end of Avengers Endgame, everyone, did you watch it?
I'm sure
So the story
it
was,
was a Disney.
yeah, everyone, half the
Someone
population in
could've
the
been
world got snapped for 4 years.
Oh,
Right?
wait. Snap?
Yeah,
oh,
like they just disappeared
disappeared.
for like 4 years, and then all of a sudden, like, at the end of the movie when they save everyone,
It's like the Rapture, but it's not
right.
1,000
Essentially,
years,
the
it's 4
population
years.
doubles, and it's like,
Okay.
how, like, it almost seems catastrophic if you think about, like, for 4 years these people have been preparing like food and like, like their distribution and all of their systems have been meant for a certain size of population, and now it explodes. It's like, how are things going to change? And it's like, if we're stuck inside for 6 months to a year and all of a sudden like the coronavirus vaccine comes out and we're all able to go back to a year, will that in itself be a huge change now that everyone's able to like go back to work and re-engage in the economy?
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
it'll be just as,
So will that be just as chaotic as people leaving?
I hope so, because that's when we can actually do something.
Well, that's when I think the workers will have the most
More.
leverage, because
Yes,
it's
like-
now people, well, maybe. I mean, they can choose not to go back to work until like their conditions are
They
met.
could choose to be angry about what happened and like demand change.
The only way you get
Is that
change is
not
is from the
how-
legislators. So how do you hold their feet to the fire by not going back to work? Do you know what I mean? It's like you can't expect businesses to change the law. You actually have
They
to
are
convince-
though.
Who?
Businesses
Like what?
changing laws.
Like, no, but for people. Businesses won't change laws for people. Businesses will change laws for themselves.
Everyone changes
That's what
it
I'm
in
saying.
self-interest, and
So
so
people-
businesses are changing laws.
people
And
can't
people don't
hold-
understand that.
Yeah, so people can't hold businesses accountable for changing laws for people. People have to hold politicians accountable for changing laws for people.
If they believe that their government is out
Right.
to defend them.
So if your only leverage is not going back to work, your only leverage is against people who already don't have your best interests in mind. Politicians don't care if you don't go back to work.
they do. Because the businessmen will put the fire.
That's what I'm saying. The
Make them
businessmen
go back to work.
businessmen have a different fire. So there is no nothing. There's nothing that
The fire under the politician's ass that burns brightest is the business law. Like,
yeah. So the workers have no leverage against change. If we have to go back to work,
refuse to do what they're told.
yeah, but it's 2 against 1, isn't it? Isn't it the businesses and the politicians versus the people that are going back to work? If they
But
don't,
what could the politicians do? I guess use the police like they are now.
No,
I don't
no,
know,
no.
like find them.
um,
That's what I'm saying.
I
I
don't
asked
think-
you what happens, and you said
no,
in
no.
the
I
end,
mean, the
revolt. I'm like,
politicians are the only ones that can enact change. That's what I'm saying. And if they're not motivated
which is
by
why
the
I'm
people,
hoping that there are. I'm hoping that for the U.S. we do still have a government somewhere, like, and people in it that
I think we're still gonna have a government. I just don't.
aren't sellouts. No, the ones we have now. Like, is our like, can the politicians? Because even though I said the majority of it is like the light, I mean the fire that's burning brighter is the ones that comes from businesses. That's now weighing and shifting legislation and stuff. I feel way more than, except when people vote. But when people vote, what they don't realize is the legislation takes so much longer to be written. And each time a bill is presented, like the California, we have a right to like protest or read it through and say, no, you got to get rid of line this and this and this. It's like so it's like a whole long process, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like I don't know what happened to the people, like the unions and whatnot, that used to represent the people. That
They're
now
still there.
so
They're just
weak
much weaker because I guess.
because they don't have the money.
Yeah.
So it's just the money.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like a lot of unions, like they have to fight for healthcare, and then all of a sudden, if you're in a union with
Which just
healthcare,
sucks. Like, why are we putting healthcare with our work? Like,
Yeah,
why,
tying healthcare
why
to
is
employment.
that you're only worthy of being taken care of if you can work? Otherwise, shoot you dead. You're no longer a workhorse.
well,
Like,
until you're 65 and you can get Medicaid.
and then by the time our generations reach that, you think it's still gonna be there?
You don't think the generation before us would want it? You think they would cancel it right before they die?
I don't know if
They're
they're
the biggest. They're the
paying
biggest
attention.
senior.
Do you know a lot of them are private payers?
Who?
Or they have their own
Who?
like
The biggest generation of seniors is going into seniority right now. They're not all on private insurance.
a lot of them are.
The silver tsunami? No
The
way.
richer one.
You think how many rich baby boomers are there? 10%?
You don't think they have theirs through their own businesses and stuff? They're the ones pushing for just
You're-
get it through work.
If you
and I
have to
think
if you
they're
have to
only
pay
getting
for
through
it and
work.
you're offered Medicaid, you think any businessman would opt to pay for that? If you don't have to pay for it, why pay for it? And not
I'm
all
saying
boomers
they're
are
not
business
paying
owners.
Attention in that if it's being covered right now,
What?
their health insurance. It's like the people who don't understand if they're not paying attention to what it means, like net neutrality.
Yeah, so you think they're going to take Medicaid away for seniors? They're the biggest voting
It's
bloc.
like Social Security won't. You think that's still going to be there?
I don't know.
There's a lot of public the money keeps shrinking. Those things are going to get cut.
Yeah, so what happens
Like-
when those are both cut? Then seniors are just going to be left to die?
I've asked you
They're
this
gonna
before,
have
and you said
no,
revolt.
but then no.
revolt.
Before that, they're just gonna let millions of seniors die. That's what's gonna happen if you once you cut Medicaid and
that what's
Medicare.
happening now?
Well, no, I mean, millions of people are dying anyways, but that's not because we cut stuff. If you cut Medicaid, every
They won't
senior.
be cut quickly.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Who do you think's gonna cut it if we're gonna have literally millions of dying seniors?
We'll see. Everyone said there was lots of things we weren't gonna end up doing, and it's like, wow, no one thinks this is weird.
Like what?
Like health insurance being tied just to you working, or like so many things we've pointed out that's just like slowly there's a huge shift, and legislation is being written by business now.
Mm-hmm.
And how did we not see that? It's like,
What?
it's a slow shift, not a cut of these things. But once funding runs out, then
Yeah.
then
So
what?
does it
Those
ever go
things-
back? Would if they
there's
cut
changes in
all
the
of those?
system, because all of
No,
those
but when
are
you say
done by
change, what do you
tax
mean by
dollars.
change? Like voting people in?
I guess, yeah. How else? I asked you, how else is change made? I don't know much
Yeah,
about
you have
politics.
to. Someone
and
has to write it
governance.
out. That's why business gets their legislation passed because the ALEC group just literally writes it out for the congressman, and the
Oh, I know.
congressman puts it
And
on
then
the
they
floor.
Copy and paste a lot of times. 'cause
They don't even
know.
copy and paste. They just put
Right.
it in. They don't even change it. It's already
So-
written for them.
Yeah, but so who's voting then against them? Nobody.
If they're the only ones running,
He's really bad.
there's
No,
not
I'm
enough.
talking about like things, bills, and like you were so mad about that other thing that they passed. I'm like, Bernie and AOC still voted in yes.
Yeah, they didn't. I know that's the thing. It's like,
So
and
there's
we-
your.
and
you,
I
you
voted
keep
for
thinking
them.
that they're not going to do that. I'm like, everyone does it. Everyone lets it happen.
I'm not saying they're not going to do it. I'm just saying yeah, I
I'm
don't
saying
know
that's
how to do
probably
change
gonna
when the
happen.
people we try to vote in aren't doing anything even now. And so it's like, yeah, maybe they will cut Medicaid and let millions of people die because that's what business wants.
It's not what it wants, and it's not. I don't think what anyone wants, but it's like if it's
Oh, really?
built in a way where, well, maybe okay.
You want-
If you can tell people that they're a drain on the system, that they don't help our society, that the only way to then yeah, they'll.
Well, if they
adjust
push for cuts for Medicaid and Social Security, that's not even a direct thing attached to them. So you can't even put the bad things that they do on them when it comes to their detriment to society, because what they're doing is they're making jobs. Look how many jobs Amazon created.
Oh yeah, they'll put a value somewhere else. Of course,
Exactly.
They're good salesmen. That's how they get. They'll say this is the con, but here are the pros.
Yeah, that's why we're in a 17-year
because of-
war. We have to beat them there before they come here
Come where?
to America, like they did in 2001.
Didn't you think that was what was the one conspiracy of it being an inside job?
Oh, that Dick Cheney did it so he can get rich.
Everybody
Why
did
did-
it so that the oil companies.
I think he was
anyone
like-
invested in oil can get rich.
He was like an executive officer on Halliburton, and then he left that position to become George W. Bush's VP, and then 9/11 happened, and Halliburton got a lot of the contracts, making Cheney. I think there was a movie about it with Christian Bale played
and Saudi
Cheney.
Arabia and
Yeah, the whole world's twisted.
I know, but I'm a conspiracy theorist apparently.
So we have
I think it's totally. I can feel it.
this.
Yeah, and I only had 25 milligrams. I made sure I ate. Sometimes I eat the whole pack, and then it takes a long time, or it doesn't hit me. And other times, if I eat at the right time and then smoke at the right time, it really hits me.
Nice.
Like a 100 milligram edible, almost like 4 times.
Oh,
What happened?
I'm just
Oh,
it's
sorry.
it was really sour. I
Oh
forget
yeah.
how sour things are
Adriana
sometimes.
ate something. My 6-year-old ate something sour. 7-year-old, and she was like, "It's spicy in the back of my cheek." I'm like,
Because
that's
it was a
the
Skittle, so she
saliva.
wasn't expecting it to be sour. It doesn't have the
but I find it funny that she calls anything she doesn't like in her mouth spicy.
like cinnamon gum. She calls it spicy. Cinnamon gum
Well,
is kind of
it's spicy.
spicy though.
Spearmint, mint. I know. I gave her spearmint gum once, and she was like, "This tastes like floss." Oh no, it's
Yeah, I was.
Why
there.
are you eating floss? Oh, was that too loud?
No, you're good. We're just kind of relaxing until the next 4:20, like 13 minutes, and then we can go into our next story. Oh, we have 4 more stories to do. The Dr. Fauci was kind of a short one.
I think this might be our chance, me and Miguel, to go run away back to Cuba and ask for refugee status. I mean, asylum or something like that.
Oh yeah, I saw some stuff.
I'm like,
Cuba's doing really well, huh?
I don't know, but Miguel's like, no, there's no food, there's no blah blah blah. I'm like, who's telling you this? So don't you
Yeah.
see it on the news? I'm like, you have family who live there. You can't ask them. Are you?
Yeah. How long did Miguel live in Cuba for?
He came here when he was 20. He was born in 84. He came here in 2011. I can't do math right now. How old were you in 2011?
Wow, I was pretty young. I was 18 in 2017. So like 22,
Plus 4, because he's 4 years older than you?
26.
No,
Wow.
wait, he's 84. Were you born in 88?
Yeah.
What? You're closer to age in him than I am.
I should have married Miguel.
And I used to change your diaper.
Here's
Oh my goodness.
It's a bit of breaking news. It comes to as a surprise to no one, I hope.
What is it?
It's from Politico. Trump removes independent watchdog for coronavirus fund, a pending oversight panel. The move comes as Trump makes a bold push against Inspector General scrutinizing his actions. So, you know what this is I can screenshot it right here and put it up. So remember when we were talking about how the stimulus bill was just it was like the richest. It was giving like the richest 1,000 people like trillions of dollars of taxpayer money so they can use it to choke out taxpayers. There's a little bit of a lag here.
They're lazy. You gotta make them work and pay their fees.
All right. Well, this says Donald Trump has upended the panel of federal watchdog overseeing implementation of the $2 trillion coronavirus law, tapping a replacement for the Pentagon official who was supposed to lead the effort. This isn't really a story, so I think I'm just gonna. There's something. I don't know why this freezes like this. See, the FaceTime one. So actually, this is actually why I did this, so we can switch to the FaceTime camera.
Oh.
Where's the highbrow show? Whenever that happens. But let's see if this one caught up. Nope. It's still behind. Let me go just turn it off.
What are they doing? Excuse me.
Do you want to go out? You can come back at the 20. Come back in 5 minutes.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna.